Thank you guys for tuning into the GSMC Soccer Podcast brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. We have a great show for you today. We have a show for you today. We'll be covering Barcelona taking on Girona this weekend. We'll discuss Erik Ten Hag's reaction to the criticism received from Ronaldo. Talk about United, and we'll talk about some of the new managers that came in: Arne Slot, Hansi Flick, Vincent Company. We discuss which one of those managers have had their best starts since joining their respective clubs. We'll discuss Mikel Arteta signing an extension with Arsenal and the injuries he's having to face with currently. Sorry guys, my mouth is dried real quick. And make sure you stick around for the end of the show where I'll be giving you my reactions to some of the top headlines going on in the soccer world. Before we start off though, if you have a question that come in during the show, hit that super chat button. We want to hear it. Your input is a big part of what makes this show great, and we thrive on your energies and insights. Whether it's a quick comment, a thoughtful question, or an opinion, you just have to share. Don't hesitate to drop it in the chat. Now, if you want to make absolutely sure your message stands out and gets featured on the show, there's an easy way to do that. Use the super chat feature. Just click the $ at the bottom of the chat box to send in your super chat. This guarantees that your message gets on the air, and it's also a fantastic way to support our channel. We rely on your support to keep bringing you the sports content you love, and we appreciate every bit of it. So go ahead, let us know what you're thinking, hit that super chat button, and let's keep this show as interactive and exciting as possible. And if you prefer, you can also go to the GSMCpodcast.net to tip, donate, and leave a comment or question there. We couldn't do what we do without your amazing support, and we're so thankful to have you as part of our community. But we have to start off though, with Barcelona taking on Girona. They're trying to get revenge because of last season. Girona had that fantastic season last season, where they finished, they were in the top two for a lot of the season. They ended up finishing third ahead of Atletico Madrid, comfortably ahead of Atletico Madrid with 5 points ahead of them. Finished third right underneath Barcelona, but they defeated Barcelona twice in La Liga last season. Barcelona, they only lost 5 La Liga games last season, and 2 of them were against Girona, and both in pretty comfortable fashion, I have to say, for Girona. Some of the lowest moments of Barcelona's season last season came, those 2 games that they were honestly comfortably, tormented by Girona. It was they were both 4-2 defeats, and Girona was a surprise team last season, and that part of those 2 losses led to the downfall of Xavi as the Barcelona manager. Well, now we know Barcelona is managed by a new coach, Hansi Flick, in which he's looking to make it 5 out of 5 games so far to start off their La Liga campaign as they take on Girona. This is a Barcelona team that's different from last season, with Dani Olmo coming in, and Ilkay Gundogan going back to Manchester City. And Dani Olmo, he did suffer an injury in Spain's last national management game, but it's been reported that he will be 100% available for the Girona tie, which is great news for Barcelona. Olmo did score in his first 2 games for Barcelona this season before the international break, after there was a little bit of a delay to get him in there because of the La Liga financial salary cap rules. In fact, Barcelona were sort of not fortunate, but they needed they got him in through the injury of Andreas Christensen. They were able to get him registered because of that. And yeah, he's been very, very good. this season. Same with Lamine Yamal, their teenage sensation, and then Rafinha, who's been really, really in form, coming off of a hat trick in his last game when they destroyed Valladolid 7-0. Robert Lewandowski, he's also had a great start so far under Hansi Flick. You remember he played some of his best football under Hansi Flick the year that a lot of people thought he was going to win the Ballon d'Or. He didn't end up winning it at the end. I believe it actually got delayed for the next season. That year came under his best years has came under Hansi Flick, and he's been playing really, really good football this year after having a little bit of a down year for his standards last season. With now, he already has 4 goals in 4 rounds in La Liga. And there has been one negative so far to Barcelona start to the season. Despite starting off 4-4-4, they've had injuries. Frenkie de Jong, he's yet to be available. Xavi Pais is still recovering. Xavi is still recovering from a serious injury. Marc Bernal, who was really impressive, had a very, very good game. Ended up getting injured in the later stages of it, and it was an ACL injury in, I believe, their 3rd game of this campaign, and it leaves them very, very vulnerable in the deeper midfield positions on the pitch. And yes, Girona, they were able to have that great season last season, but they have lost a lot of their players entering this season. Savinha moved to the Girona's parent club, City. Dovbyk, who was actually the top scorer in La Liga last season for Girona, he left for Roma, which, when you're losing a guy that produced those sort of goals for the team, obviously it's a big move. Direct vertical explosive winger I discussed Savinho moving to City. Jan Couto, who also had a really great season playing fullback for Girona. He got into the Brazil squad, cracked the 11. He took that next move to Borussia Dortmund, and then Alex Garcia joined Bayern Leverkusen. Those are some key critical players that were a big part of last season's team. They've all gone. They've all been sold. But overall, I do have to say, Girona, they haven't looked that bad this season, despite losing a lot of the players. They were able to retain their coach Michael Sanchez and other key players like Mikel Gutierrez, Ivan Martin, and they were able to bring in Abel Ruiz, Brian Hill, Dan Juma, and they also brought in Donovan de Beek for Manchester United. And Girona, they had that disappointing result against Atletico Madrid 3-0, in which I thought they didn't play a game that was deserving of a 3-0 defeat. But other than that, so far in their last 2 games, they've played some really, really good football. They've played with some high tempo. They move the ball really, really well. And they've been able to produce in the attack. They got a 4-0 win over Osasuna and a 2-0 win at Sevilla in their past 2 games. And so I don't think there's going to be a huge drop-off with them. I do think they're not going to finish as high in the league, though, as last season, because of the fact that they're having to now play Champions League games, and when you're a team with limited quality compared to Barcelona, Real Madrid, Atletico Madrid, this is a team that doesn't have that quality of those sort of teams, and then you're playing Champions League ties. It's sort of the Aston Villa effect. I don't know if it's going to affect Aston Villa, but I do think it will affect with Girona, especially when you see a lot of their players that they miss. Eventually the depth issues will get. When you lose players like Dovbyk, Jan Couto, Alex Garcia, players that had an important players that had an important impact. Maybe he doesn't get exposed right away, but as you get longer into the season, like this stretch now that they're having to face, when you're a team like Girona that maybe didn't have the depth that you once did last season that got you into the top 4, and you have to play Barcelona on a Sunday, then play PSG on a Wednesday, and then Valencia on a Saturday. That's a stretch. That's a 6-day stretch where they take on Barcelona. They take on Barcelona away. No, they take on Barcelona at home. They have to go to Paris, and then they have to come back. They have to go to Paris, and then they have to come back and go to the Mestalla, and take on Valencia. That's those sort of stretches that your depth and quality really gets tested. And I do fear for Girona in that aspect, and I like to see the mix matching, that I'm having technical difficulties here. Oh. Give me 1 second. There's some technical difficulties going on my end. But as I was saying though, Miguel Sanchez, coach for Girona, he's gonna have to do some mix and matching. Keeping players ready for the PSG tie, having 100% fit ready team as they go away to PSG, as well as managing taking on Barcelona and then taking on Valencia after that PSG game. Will the quality, will the depth, and the way Girona also likes to play, they play really, really fast, they move the ball, they play with tempo, they get numbers forward. So that's a high intensity sort of a play. With Barcelona in this one, obviously, you think back to what happened last season. Obviously, the motivation is there, the wanting of revenge. We see this Barcelona team is a different Barcelona team. They think forward. They look to play more forward ball. They take more risks. They rely on the verticality and the directness of their players a little bit more. With Xavi, I don't think it was quite Pep Guardiola tiki-taka. I think it was a little bit of a mix of some tiki-taka and being able to control possession, but also having a good vertical element to them, similarly to Spain and what Luis de la Fuente was able to do with the Spain's team. The problem is that the results, they competed, and I thought they were a good team, but so far the results have been better so far with Hansi Flick. 4 wins out of 4. They're playing some high-flying football. They're threatening more. They're creating more big chances. They're taking more risks. They're more fun to watch as well. Players are performing better, specifically Lewandowski, Rafinha, and it's been a good, good thing to watch, and it's been a joy to watch. So, for me, obviously, Barcelona are in the front foot in this game. For me, they're in the front foot in this game. I think Barcelona are the favorites because of the quality difference. But it's going to be a tricky tie, going to the Estadio Montilivi, having to, go away. That's going to make it a little bit more difficult. Girona had a good record there last season. So, no, I'm really looking forward to this, but I do have to give the slight edge just to Barcelona. Short break here coming up, though. When we come back, we'll discuss Ten Hag's reaction to Ronaldo's comments.
I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign. I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign.
I wanna be the greatest. Everybody on the fake shit. I look around and feel like everybody is the fakest. I make this every day and I'm impatient, hoping one day I blow up from the basement. Statement, the top is so vacant. I don't hear shit that I think is amazing. Waiting for my day when I'm playing sold out shows where 1,000 faces. Hey, give me that crown, get in my way and to be put down. It ain't your place, all this my town. If I want that shit, then I'll get it right now. I'm losing it, the noose it fits. I'm losing shit, a stupid myth. You choose to live or choose to dip. You choose to fight or lose your grip and lose a gift.
I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign. I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind?
Before the break, we discussed the Barcelona getting revenge against Girona, who beat them twice last season. We move on to react to Erik Ten Hag's reaction to Ronaldo's sort of criticism. Ronaldo was on a show with Rio Ferdinand, discussing, this current United sort of setup. And Ronaldo had a little bit of negative comments. But by the way, let's get this out of the way. With Cristiano Ronaldo, the way it ended between him and United and Erik Ten Hag. Any comment that he made on United or Ten Hag was gonna get exacerbated to the extreme degree because of that. That was just bound to happen. But there was some interesting things said about that Ronaldo did discuss with criticizing Ten Hag. He did say. When speaking of Ten Hag, Ronaldo said that Manchester United can't win the Premier League. He said this, if you read the article very well. Oh, no. He said that Manchester United can't win the Premier League. Hold on. I don't have the full comments. Let me read the full comments. Sorry, give me 1 second. So, this is what Erik Ten Hag said. Not Erik Ten Hag. This is what Cristiano Ronaldo said on Erik Ten Hag. The coach says they cannot compete to win the Premier League and Champions League. As Manchester United coach, you cannot say that. You're not going to fight to win the league or Champions League. Mentally, you can say maybe we don't have that potential, but I cannot say that we're going to try. You have to try. And then Ten Hag, he sort of not hit back. I think that's a strong way to put it, despite a lot of headlines saying Ten Hag does a furious. No, it wasn't a fiery response, but he did respond on it. He was asked about it, number one, at the presser. Let's get that straight. He was asked about it at the presser, and Ten Hag sort of dismissed the comment, saying this is what Erik Ten Hag said. Actually, he said that Manchester United can't win the Premier League. He said this, if you read the article very well, he is far away in Saudi, far away from Manchester, so everyone can have an opinion and is entitled to have an opinion. It is okay. And by the way, so that's what Erik Ten Hag said. He said, he basically said that Ronaldo is the one that said Manchester United can't win the Premier League, which when I first read this comments, I was saying, can this be fact check? There's nowhere on this podcast that Ronaldo said that Manchester United cannot win the Premier League. I didn't find that. But now the more and more I break down what Erik Ten Hag is actually saying, he's saying, I never said that. That's what Ronaldo said. Ronaldo's the one that said that Manchester United can't win the Premier League when he made the comments that he made about Ten Hag. That's how I'm seeing it now. In which, now I think about it, I never remember Erik Ten Hag saying United can't win the Premier League. Then maybe that's something I need to fact check real quick. But I don't remember him saying, him dismissing the Premier League. I don't remember. I don't remember him saying that. Maybe that's something. There's been a lot of things that he said. When he's discussing about injuries, the fact that they're in a transitional period and all that, but I never heard him dismiss the Premier League. And number one, he can't dismiss the Champions League for the season because, well, they can't win the Champions League. They're not even in it. And I'm assuming these comments that Ronaldo's alleging him saying happened this season. But apart from that, apart from that, I don't remember Erik Ten Hag saying that exactly. So maybe he's trying to defend himself, saying, he's the one that said Manchester United can't win the Premier League, not me. But obviously, with Cristiano Ronaldo and any sort of comment he made, because of the way it ended, as I said previously on the segment, it was always going to get exacerbated. It was always going to be on the top front headlines, and it's a little. It's a little petty. And yeah, overall, this is a Manchester United team that is that just has not been the same since Sir Alex Ferguson. They have not been the same since Sir Alex Ferguson. They've went through a lot of managers. David Moyes, Louis van Gaal, Jose Mourinho, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. Now Erik Ten Hag. I don't know if I'm missing one anywhere in that mix. I'm not including few day interns like what was Michael Carrick, not including guys like that. Just talk about guys that've had a good, an actual run at being the manager for Manchester United, and they still have not been able to find their formula of success post Sir Alex Ferguson, and they've never really had a set style of play either at the club. No identity since then. We never really. Manchester United never had a set of identity, a pattern of play, a pattern of attacking play since then. It's been, the trying to play transition football with Mourinho that just didn't work out at the end. With Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, it was kind of all over the place. Now Erik Ten Hag, again, we don't really have a set pattern of play. It's just the same old cycle for Manchester United. And now with Erik Ten Hag, he's, that past season, was really, really rough. Really, really rough season for not just him, for United. He had, they did suffer a lot of injuries, in which I do feel sympathy for. And he did end up winning a trophy at the end of the day. But in terms of the season, it was really, really bad. The way he handled the pressers after the games and some of the losses, just as bad. And yeah, it was really just really hard to watch. And now this season, it just seems like he's almost digging his own grave with some of the decisions that he's been making, some of the late game substitutions, how he continues to try to rely on players that just have not done it for him for a long time. Specifically, Marcus Rashford. Marcus Rashford has always been a player that I say he gets managers fired because he can have really, really good highs in which the team is flying well and the expectations start building up, and then he completely falls over and he just disappears and he's just extremely inconsistent, and then the team goes down with him almost. And it's just like, I don't understand the Ten Hag and how he's just riding it out with, Mark, and it's not just Marcus Rashford. There's been, periods that Mason Mount has stayed in the game despite him not doing anything throughout the duration of the game. It's been multiple instances of players just not doing their job and trusting them. You need a goal late on against Brighton. You're at 1-1 and you're looking for a winner and you're pushing for it, and you take out your most creative player in no, you don't take off actually. You take off your most creative player in Bruno Fernandes, one of the few players in that game that was trying to play a forward line breaking ball, and you bring in Scott McTominay. You bring in Scott McTominay late in the situation where you need a goal, and yes, I know Scott McTominay, he does have the capacity to make runs into the box, but you don't take out Bruno Fernandes for Scott McTominay. And by the way, this was a Scott McTominay that got sold like 2-3 days later. That was on the outs at Manchester United. So that was unbelievable to me. His in-game, that starting lineup just in general from that game, not going with the number 9, that false 9 being a complete and utter failure, not playing Alejandro Garnacho as well, not starting him so far, until the Liverpool game, not starting him at all in the first 3 games of the season, despite him being one of the better performers in preseason, and you had a Rashford being in there, and then Diallo, he's had an okay season as well. He had a good preseason. Somehow he's getting benched for Marcus Rashford, who again has not done anything at all. Erik Ten Hag, he's sort of digging his own grave, and with the last the last slither of a toenail, basically, he was able to retain the job. And when you retain the job in that sort of aspect, immediately the pressure immediately picks up to start the next season. He finds himself in a position now. He doesn't get this up firing within the next string of games. Then we're gonna be discussing Erik Ten Hag being another manager to add to the list of managers that have failed post Sir Alex Ferguson. It's really reaching that point. Short break here coming up. When we come back, we will discuss Arne Slot, Hansi Flick, Vincent Kompany start to their managerial careers, start at their managerial careers at their new clubs on the next segment.
Looking for your daily fix of sports talk without having to pay for it? GSMC Sports Network is available on YouTube. Just search GSMC Sports Network. Get your fix of daily sports talk shows on YouTube, absolutely free. NFL, college football, NBA, MLB, MMA, UFC, fantasy football, and so much more. GSMC Sports Network has shows running all day long, with new sports shows starting every 2 hours. Just like on your favorite cable sports channel, except GSMC Sports Network is absolutely free. Just search GSMC Sports Network on YouTube to catch one of your new favorite shows, like the GSMC College Football Podcast, Chip Shot Football Podcast, Hoops and Heels Women's Sports Podcast, GSMC Basketball Podcast, and so many more. Check it out for yourself. GSMC Sports Network, now available on YouTube absolutely free. Search GSMC Sports Network on YouTube right now.
Before the break, we discussed Erik ten Hag's reaction to Ronaldo criticism. We move on. This is an interesting segment. A segment I'm excited for, actually. We've had 3 new managers that came into their respective clubs. Obviously, they're not the only 3 in world football, but these are some of the managers that joined big clubs this season. Arne Slot making that move to Liverpool, replacing Jurgen Klopp. Hansi Flick getting hired for Barcelona after they're fired. Xavi Hernandez. Oh, I say Hernandez like he's French, like Theo Hernandez or Lucas Hernandez. Xavi Hernandez, and then we discuss Vincent Kompany, who joins Bayern after Thomas Tuchel decided to leave Bayern Munich, and these are 3 managers that are got off to good starts at the respective club. I think for Arne Slot and Hansi Flick, you can use great. I think with Vincent Kompany, you can say good start. Number one, the thing with Vincent Kompany and his start to Bayern is that they've only played 2 league games. They had a Pokal. They played their first round of the Pokal against a lower division team, in which they went out with a little bit of a makeshift team there, and then but the real season, they only played 2 games for them, so a little bit less of a serving size for Liverpool, who've had they took on, I believe they've had 3 Premier League games so far this season. They've had 3 Premier League games so far this season. And Barcelona have actually had 4. So I think with Vincent Kompany, I'm going to put his probably at last. Even though it's been a good start, 2 wins from 2, 1 also being away is a good start. But we've seen a little bit of what the weaknesses with Bayern in the past, defensively, leaving a lot of gaping holes and space, and making defensive mistakes. We saw that early this season against Wolfsburg. In the goals that they conceded, Upamecano, Kim Min-jae both being reckless, making bad mistakes, costing chances and opportunities, and Kim Min-jae mistake directly leading to a goal, and it took them a late winner because of that to get past Wolfsburg. A win is a win, and they've been impressive, 2 wins, but again, they not as impressed with Vincent Kompany as the other 2 managers. Against Freiburg, they went out with against Freiburg. They went out with an extremely attacking lineup against Freiburg. It was an extremely attacking lineup, but Freiburg, they just lacked that little bit quality to, get the pass, to get past the press. Because if they were able to get past the press, there was so much space. The center backs were split out wide. Fullbacks were not in a position to really, defend in transition. And there was a lot of space to take advantage of the Bayern Munich defense. Freiburg just couldn't put up much big enough fight. Thomas Muller had that great control, got that second goal. But overall, good start for Bayern, but we just need to see a little bit more, and then maybe. Now, with Arne Slot and Hansi Flick, it's difficult, with the fact that Barcelona are 4-4-4. They're playing some really, really good football. Really exciting to watch. They're playing more forward balls. They're taking more risks. They're getting players in behind. Robert Lewandowski, Rafinha, some of these players are individually playing really, really well. Hansi Flick has been able to incorporate Dani Olmo, who's got a goal so far in his first 2 games as well for Barcelona. And overall, the style of play has been really, really good. I love the more direct element to Barcelona, a little bit of a change in culture in the way that they go about it. A little bit more pressing as well, a little bit more intensity, more risk-taking. I love what I'm seeing from Barcelona, and I love seeing players get at their opponents one-on-one and open up space and get in the box and be really, really deadly. And how they've been doing it, 4 wins from 4. They've already have a decent lead right now at the top in La Liga, which is remarkable in 4 games. I believe they have a 4-point cushion over the next team. I'm a fact check that actually real quick. Actually. Last time I checked, it was it is a 4-point lead. So yeah, they've had a really, really good start. But the reason why I'm really hesitating to put, not hesitating, but the reason why it's a really tough decision is Arne Slot, the pressure Arne Slot has of replacing a manager like Jurgen Klopp. I have to say, I was very pessimistic of Liverpool entering the season. Jurgen Klopp was a manager that was able to do more with less and built an identity amongst the team and how they played. We know the way Hansi Flick is trying to get this Barcelona team to play. That was the culture of Liverpool Football Club at Hansi Flick under Jurgen Klopp. Pressing high, heavy metal football, very, very direct, risk-taking, fullbacks getting involved, fullbacks playing some quality balls, fullbacks getting assists. It was just a great team to watch. But now we're seeing a little bit of transition in terms of how they play. Now, the fullbacks are still involved, but it's a little bit more risk-taking, it's a little bit more composed, a little bit more possession best, but they are still taking risks. We're seeing quick ball movements and being able to control the balls and being able to get the ball quickly from one end to the pitch and others. Take different, players taking up different pockets on the pitch to really, move the defenders. That allows space for players to get in behind and to find other spaces. Good one-touch passing, moving the ball quickly, seeing quality from Trent Alexander-Arnold as well. We see Mo Salah, him still being able to do what he does, showing off how great he is, getting the goals, being direct. And they also, the thing that Liverpool has done, that Hansi Flick in Barcelona, they have that big win under Slot. They went into Old Trafford and they beat in a derby. They beat their rivals Manchester United at Old Trafford, which in my opinion, out of these 3 managers so far, that has been the biggest win. Arne Slot being able to go into Manchester United and get that 3-0 win, especially how demoralizing is that for Manchester United, spending all these years sort of being dominated by Jurgen Klopp Liverpool, now seeing Jurgen Klopp finally leave, and now you're thinking, okay, finally, this is where our chance that we can finally get a leg up on Liverpool. Arne Slot comes in the first game, you're getting smacked on your own pitch at home by this new look Liverpool team with a little bit different style of play. How demoralizing is that? And then again, the pressure of replacing a guy like Jurgen Klopp. Again, I told you I was pessimistic about Liverpool, very pessimistic about Liverpool. I did not know how they would look. I watched preseason and I was quietly impressed with them, but I didn't want to take too much away from preseason. I wanted to, call preseason forward. But what I've seen from this Liverpool team, I have to say, this is a Liverpool team that will compete with Arsenal and City up there until the end. They have been so good. What Arne Slot, I talk about what Hansi Flick has been able to do with players like with players like Robert Lewandowski, players like Rafinha. But what Arne Slot has been able to do with Ryan Gravenberch, who hasn't really been able to take off in his career post his move to Bayern Munich and even with his move to Liverpool last season, what he's done to Ryan Gravenberch has been revelation. Ryan Gravenberch is playing the best football in his career, playing in a little bit more deeper position, but playing that position like a boss man, being able to to drive the ball forward with the quality he has, to be able to find the ball and find themselves comfortable, showing off his ability to pass the ball, which, I didn't think was at that sort of level. He can pass the ball and he can control a game within the midfield and playing in a deeper role. Now, defensively, not the strongest player because that's not what he does naturally, but playing it really, really well. And his form for Liverpool is replicated. This past game, the Netherlands took on Germany. Ryan Gravenberch, playing in midfield, played some sublime balls in. He actually got an assist early on. I believe it was a Reinders that he played in. That led to a goal. And he also played another amazing ball that led to an opportunity. I believe it was for Xavi Simons. What he's been able to do, I'm going to have to give the slight edge to Arne Slot. The slight edge to Arne Slot. But look, I said Arne Slot this team looks like a team that can compete with Liverpool and Arsenal. With Hansi Flick, this looks like a team that can win La Liga. That's how great they have been for Barcelona, And Hansi Flick, keep in mind, he's doing this sort of cash-strapped Barcelona with their financial issues. It's not the previous Barcelona team previous Barcelona teams in which, we know the needed hole, the much needed hole that they've had, much needed player that they've needed at that holding midfield position. This is not the same Barcelona in the past that can say, okay, we'll get the best Spanish player in class. We'll go get Rodri off Manchester City because we're just Barcelona and we're bigger than them. It's not that. It's not those days anymore. It's not those days where Barcelona could just snap their finger and have any player that they wanted. Now they have real financial issues that they're dealing with. So I have to say, I'd put Hansi Flick just slightly under Arne Slot, but both been really, really impressive. Now, Vincent Kompany's start, it's been good. It's been, I think impressive is a little bit as a stretch, but it's been good. But we still need to see a little bit more. And we need to see, most importantly, we need to see those defensive issues that Bayern Munich have addressed. They need to address that back line. That center-back partnership needs to look more fluid this season than it looked last season. And so far from the start, that has not been solved. Short break here. Coming up, when we come back, we'll react to Mikel Arteta signing an extension with Arsenal.
For the best and latest podcasts available anywhere, go to the podcast app on your cell phone and type in GSMC to access free content-rich podcasts on health and wellness, book reviews, sports, entertainment, relationships, social media, movies, technology, finance, and even weird news. Subscribe and download the GSMC Podcast Network's family of shows, available everywhere podcasts are found.
Before the break, we discussed Arne Slot, Hansi Flick, and company start to their managerial campaigns. We move on to react to Mikel Arteta. He has been extended as manager for Arsenal till 2027. It's a new 3-year deal for him. It was reported early on Thursday, actually, that Arteta is going to receive a significant salary raise to which is right now is 9 million a year to on his existing 9 million euros a year, euros or pounds. I can't read that side. And then, but yeah, Arteta's contract was actually due to expire this next summer. Uh, but now with the extension happening, Arteta in a statement saying, "I feel extremely proud, very excited, and I'm looking forward to what is coming next. I'm proud to be where I am and have the relationship that I have with everyone at the club. I am extremely lucky to work every single day with good people and the ambition we have here. I feel very inspired, I feel challenged, I feel supported, and I want to do much more than what we've already done together. Together with the players and everyone at the club, we are looking forward to the coming years with our supporters. We have emotionally transformed the club and the team. Our supporters have transformed individuals, and we are different now. You can tell that we are different, and for me, that is down to them. We look forward to continuing this journey together." Arsenal's co-chairman Josh Kroenke, he added that Mikel is a dynamic and passionate manager who is relentless in the pursuit of excellence. He has a deep understanding of Arsenal's values, and since joining us as head coach in December 2019, he has taken the team to another level in an Arsenal way. Like Mikel Arteta has, had a great recent years at Arsenal, being able to transform this team into an elite team in Europe that can compete for the Premier League over these past few seasons, and the steady progression that these players have made, this young core has made with Bukayo Saka, Martinelli, the progression that he's made with this core of players, and then he's been able to fit in players like Gabriel Jesus, Declan Rice, Kai Havertz, Jorginho, William Saliba. William Saliba is also one of the young players that came up with Mikel Arteta, even though he did spend time on loan, a lot of time on loan actually. Look, he's had a great start. He's had a great recent run at Arsenal. People talk about he's only won one FA Cup, which is true, and he won that FA Cup, by the way, with a team that was punching above their weight. That Arsenal team was not a team that was capable of winning trophies. They were punching above the weight. They were punching above the rate. Remember, that was the team with, I believe that Arsenal team that played Chelsea in the FA Cup. Let's just read the starting lineup, actually. Let's read the starting lineup of the game. That was, 2020? Yeah, it was COVID. Aubameyang did score 2 goals that game, I remember. You had Emiliano Martinez playing in goal, because you remember the incident with Mopé injuring Bernd Leno. It was Tierney, David Luiz, Rob Holding as a back 3, Maitland-Niles, Bellerin playing as wing backs, Ceballos and Xhaka in midfield, and the front 3 with Lacazette, Aubameyang, Lacazette, and Nicolas Pepe. Let's be for real. And the players that he had on the bench was Socrates Papadopoulos, Eddie Nketiah, Said Kolasinac, Lucas Torreira, Reece Nelson, Joe Willock, Matthew Macy, Matt Smith, and a young Bukayo Saka who actually didn't play a single minute in the final. Let's be 100% objective here and call it what it is. That team are punched above their weight, and since then they haven't had the success in terms of winning trophies in domestic cups, in the domestic in FA Cup and the EFL Cup, in which, in my opinion, I don't take the FA Cup and the EFL Cup really that seriously in terms of trying to determine whether a manager is great or not, because it's just really based on whether the manager wants to try or not, especially early on. That's really how I see those sort of domestic things. The thing I will be critical of in Arteta's time is his run in Europe has been horrendous. His run in Europe has been horrendous. We go this year's season. It took them. This is a team that finished 89 points in the Premier League, 28 wins and 5 draws, 5 losses. In 2024, they only lost one game in the Premier League. This is a team that, had played that great of a season in the Premier League, but it took them penalties to get slightly past Porto, and then against one of the worst Bayern Munich's teams that we've seen over the past 5-6 years or so, maybe going back even longer, they got knocked out by them in the quarterfinals. And then it gets even worse from there And, when you look at the Europa League ties, getting eliminated by, I believe it was Sporting or Benfica or something out of that, a Portuguese league team. There was they got eliminated by Villarreal. That was a really bad one. By Olympiacos. They've been, he's been horrendous. His European record has been horrendous. But what he's been able to do in Premier League, look, last season they finished with 89 points. Look, if we're looking at this pre-Manchester City years, that's a Premier League title team. 89 points is a ridiculous feat. That's a really, really good, season. That's the highest point title season that Arsenal has ever had. The facts is the facts. That's a Premier League title team that he managed. They just couldn't win the, Premier League because we're in an era of just pure dominance from Pep Guardiola and Manchester City. That's just the era that we find ourselves in. So, of course, Arteta deserves his extension and not. And I'm not one of those that say he's only won one trophy because of what he's been able to do with this Arsenal team and the steady progression that they've had. But their, the record in Europe has been abysmal. That is the biggest criticism that I would have with Mikel Arteta. And also, by the way, Mikel Arteta, sort of revived how he's been able to revive his Arsenal careers. There was some serious low moments, man. There was some serious low moments. That Villarreal game. We were all, a lot of us were expecting. A lot of Arsenal fans wanted him out after that Villarreal Europa League tie. He survived that season, and then he went on to survive. That season that they started off really poorly, where they lost to, I believe. So they opened up the season. They opened up the season, lost to Brentford, I believe, 2-0. Brentford team that was newly promoted, and then they went to Stamford Bridge, and they got slapped by Chelsea in Lukaku's first game. I believe Lukaku did actually score. I think they only lost that game 2-0, but they were proper battered in that game. And then they went to the Etihad, and I think they lost. I think that game got bad. Yeah, they lost 5-0. That was the game that Xhaka got sent off. 35th minute, they lost 5-0 in that game. And, I'm really surprised. And they got dominated in that game. They had City had 25 shots to 1 for Arsenal. 10 shots on target for City for none. Arsenal had 19% possession in that game. 19. I was thinking, wow, the Arteta is done beyond done here. Somehow he managed to survive that. And I believe that campaign actually was the first campaign that we saw some good signs. Later on that season, we saw some good signs from Arsenal in that season. I think that was... No, that was not that season, actually. Was it that season? Let me pull it up. That happened August, so that was the 2021-2022 season. Yeah, that was the season that we started seeing a little bit good sign. They had that really, really bad run, and then I believe later on they had that poor performance as well. The Demarai Gray game at Everton, in which the pressure started mount even more, and somehow we survived that. And then they showed us some signs. And I would have to say, in my opinion, the table turning in terms of Mikel Arteta and his managerial sort of career at Arsenal was that game at the Emirates that they played. City took on Arsenal. That game at the at the Emirates Stadium. It took a late goal from Rodri to win the game. For City, actually, Arsenal, they ended up taking the lead early through Bukayo Saka in the 31st minute. Riyad Mahrez, and then they dominated that first half. They played some really, really good football. They created a lot of numerous opportunities. They played really appealing football against Manchester City. And it was the first time we saw Manchester City really get outplayed. And Manchester City struggled to play out. And they were suffocating, especially in that first 55 minutes or so. Then Arsenal conceded a penalty. Mahrez lashes it home in the 57th minute. And then it was a very controversial sort of red card from Magalhaes, which allows City to finally regain some control. They eventually start controlling the game a little bit more, and then they get that late win through Rodri. Rodri gets the winner in the 93rd minute. But if I came out of that game saying, wow, Arsenal are actually a good team, and I never saw a team do that to Manchester City. And that, in my opinion, was probably the turning moment in Mikel Arteta's reign as Arsenal manager. And yeah, that was a really, really fun game, actually. That was a game that was actually played in my time, local 6:30. I was with my friend on Discord, and we were up all night. It was about like 3-4, and we were like, okay, why don't we just watch the game together? Might as well. The game's at 6:30. It's City Arsenal, and I actually streamed the game on my Discord, and we actually ended up watching the game together. And it was a really, really fun game to watch. And yeah, in my opinion, that was the turning point for Mikel Arteta at City. And yeah, and then now there is the injuries that he has to face currently. Wow, we discuss about Arteta. We didn't even get to, a lot of injuries that he's having to face with, with Martin Odegaard. We know that Mikel Merino, who just came in, he suffered a shoulder injury. Now he has Martin Odegaard, who will not be playing against Tottenham, and then Declan Rice with yellow card suspension. This probably will lead Kai Havertz dropping in more of an 8 role, and then Gabriel Jesus coming in. So I'm very interested to see how Mikel Arteta tries to be tactically flexible with Arsenal, with the issues that they're facing, and if they're able to maintain their Premier League title push despite what because they've already dropped points, and despite what they've suffered recently. Short break here coming up. When we come back, we'll react to some of the top soccer headlines. Before the break, we discussed Mikel Arteta signing an extension with Arsenal. We're going to move on to react to some of the top soccer headlines. And we start off, we discussed this yesterday with the, crossroads that PSG and Mbappe found themselves in with the 55 million euros in unpaid wages. But it's been official. The French Legal Commission has ordered Paris Saint-Germain to pay Kylian Mbappe the 55 million euro in unpaid wages that he claimed that he is entitled to. The league came out saying this on Thursday. The league confirmed this decision to the AP, the Associated Press. And this was a day after Mbappe rejected a mediation offer by the commission in the dispute. PSG officials and Mbappe representatives actually did meet in Paris on Wednesday after Mbappe asked the commission to get involved. After the meeting, Mbappe representatives told AP that the striker had actually asked the commission to take note of non-payment over the last 30 months of his salaries and the last third of loyalty bonus. And then PSG, they also discussed their intention not to pay, and they were going to take further legal action. This is what PSG said, in light of the limitations of the Commission's legal scope to take a complete decision on this matter must now be contested in another legal forum, to which Paris Saint-Germain is delighted to present all the facts over the coming months and years. The club said this in a statement. PSG, they're arguing that they don't owe Mbappe money because of an agreement that they had with Mbappe being sidelined ahead of the 23-24 season because of his decision not to extend his contract with the club. He had an option to extend it to the 2025. The player allegedly stipulated that he would relinquish bonuses if he was reintegrated into the team. As a matter of law, this is what PSG said. As a matter of law and fact, the player has made clear repeated public and private commitments that must be respected, having been afforded unprecedented benefits by the club over 7 years in Paris. And the club looks forward to these being upheld in the proper forum. If the player seeks to pursue this incomprehensible reputational damage matter furthering in due course. Yeah, yeah, wow, yeah, that's crazy. I have to say, really, really crazy. What is going on there? Not that much going on, honestly. With international windows closing off yesterday, now we're kind of on the break with people going back into Mikel Arteta did sign an extension. We did discuss that. Fofana, he discussed how Chelsea players were able to sort out the Enzo Fernandez issue with the racist chants at a Copa America. Fofana said it was sorted out in a very good way. He came back and we had a discussion with the club, with the manager. We had a meeting. We explained why we took it badly because it was important for him to understand why it wasn't a good thing for him to do and why we took it badly. We explained it to him. We understood in his speech that he didn't understand that it could have hurt us. He didn't understand that it was something serious. The best thing to do is to educate him, to make him understand that certain things in certain countries that are perhaps acceptable in that country, but that in others it is very serious and that is punishable by the law. I think he understood, and now we move forward. We are a team and he is a great player. He is an example, so I hope that I will be an example in the right way for everybody. And not only did he come back to Chelsea, but he went on to become the club captain somehow, despite this incident. And clearly he's earned the respect back from the players when you see from Fofana saying, he's a leader and I hope to be like him. He's clearly it up. Came back really good. Barcelona, they actually want to host the Finalissima with the renovated Camp Nou. With Lionel Messi taking on Lamine Yamal. Argentina take on Spain. It's a dream. Messi being back at Camp Nou, taking on the Spanish national team, playing in their home country. Messi versus Yamal. Spain and Argentina are going to meet in the Finalissima after the both nations won their continental competitions this past summer, with Spain winning the European Championship and Argentina defeating Colombia in the Copa America final. But I do have to say, with that being at Camp Nou, that would be great. The new Camp Nou, and it'll be filled. It'll be probably, one of the first few games that's been completely filled at Camp Nou since they expanded to, it's going to be about 105,000 people, which is ridiculous. But I'm not a fan of the Finalissima being in Europe again. The last Finalissima was at Wembley Stadium. In my opinion, if you want to make this something, if you want to make, this fair, Finalissima, the next Finalissima should be hosted in Conambol, in a country in Conambol, whether it is, in Brazil. It doesn't have to be necessarily in Argentina, because when Spain took on Italy, it was in Wembley. It could be at, I don't know if Maracanã is much in hosting shape nowadays, but it could be Maracanã. It could be the Sao Paulo Stadium, somewhere in Brazil, somewhere maybe in, Uruguay, Colombia, I don't know, Paraguay, something like that. But in my opinion, for Finalissima, it should be, one time in UEFA, one time in CONMEBOL. Or, maybe because America did host the Copa America this season, we could include, the CONCACAF part of CONMEBOL just for this time around and potentially have it in, America, and which I don't know if CONMEBOL, is going to be a big fan of that with the issues that America had hosting the Copa America. So maybe we should take America off the list. But in my opinion, I don't think UEFA should host the Finalissima 2 times in a row. That's just not fair. We need to respect the beauty of CONMEBOL, the beauty of the footballing culture there, the passion of the fans there, and the atmosphere that can be produced in a CONMEBOL stadium. And we want to see these European teams go to play in South America, see try to play in those difficult atmospheres and see how the European players will fare in that sort of atmosphere. It'd be very, very interesting to see. So for me, I'd have to say I'd prefer the Finalissima to be hosted in CONMEBOL this season. It's only fair. But yeah, that's the end of the show. Thank you guys for tuning into the GSMC Soccer Podcast presented by the GSMC Sports Network. Your support means a lot to us, so please remember to subscribe to the show and leave a positive review. It really does make a difference. We also invite you to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, and Instagram for more content and updates. Thank you once again and have a wonderful, wonderful day.
Let's go.